What is up, guys? My name is Lex. As you can see, a little rusty with my golf game. I really haven't been out here on the course since I moved back to Florida. It's just so damn hot. Every single day it's like over 100 degrees, but we're out here trying to shoot 18 holes. Maybe we can run good. Maybe we'll hit a par or not lose all of our golf balls. We'll see. I'm gonna skip through this and I'll meet you guys at the table. Let's go. We take our seat at the 5-10 game here at the Hard Rock buy-in for $2,500. Make sure to stay tuned all the way to the end of this video. I go over the story of how I folded pocket aces pre-flop in a cash game. It's a wild one. First hand we play here, we're on the button with pocket nines. The cutoff is an action player who I have a ton of history with. He's very aggressive, likes to put in big bets with value and with bluffs. He makes it $75 over a $25 straddle. I call, small blind calls, 3 ways to a king 10-4 board. With 2 overcards, when the cutoff c-bets, I make the fold. The first interesting hand of the session here, we have 8-9 of clubs in the small blind. I raise to 75. Big blind calls 75, and we're heads up to 6-7 deuce. We flop an open-ended straight draw and 2 overcards, a great board for us. I continue for $60. The big blind quickly makes the call. Turn 5 of clubs, giving us the best hand possible. I consider checking over to him, trying to induce him to bluff on a board that may favor his calling range more than my raising range, and potentially allow him to value bet a worse hand, but I decided to just continue to bet here. I don't want him to check back hands with equity. I make it $115, and without thinking for too long, he matches my bet, so we're going here to the river. I'm looking for no heart or no board pair, and unfortunately, we see the queen of hearts on the river. The front door flush gets there, which is definitely a likely hand he could have by calling on the flop and then calling again on the turn. But I don't want to check. I have such a strong hand. I still want to go for value against his top pairs or 2 pairs, so I throw out $230. When holding a straight and the flush gets there on the river, betting $230, I am hoping for a call. What I don't want to hear is the word raise, which is unfortunately what we hear from my opponent. He throws out 1 pumpkin chip for $1,000 and raises it up to $650. A pretty nasty spot. Like I said on the river here, he is likely to have a lot of flush draws by calling on the flop and then calling here on the turn. When he raises it up here on the river to $650, he's saying, I have a flush and a pretty good flush at that. Facing a $650 river raise, holding the nut straight, but the flush gets there. It's honestly a pretty nasty spot. The thing is about this big blind opponent, he is definitely capable of putting in some raises on the river with bluffs and air balls. I've seen him play before, and he's definitely some action. I do feel like our hand is just a little bit too strong to fold. If he's got a flush, he's just going to beat us here. I think I could fold my 1 pair hands or even 2 pair hands, but a straight, I can't be folding that on the river. So I make the call for $400 more, and he tells us we're good. He shows ace-10 of clubs for a complete airball bluff. We show the 8-9 for a straight, and we're good. We take down a pretty big pot here within the first 30 minutes of our session. He called my flop bet and my turn bet with ace high, no draw, which makes me feel like he was definitely planning on blasting off with a bluff here on the river, and I think it was a great card for him to bluff with, but unfortunately for him, he just ran in to basically the top of my range here with a straight. We make the call, moving on to the next hand. The next hand we play is up against that very aggressive player I told you guys in the first hand. We have pocket nines and call a $75 raise from him on the button. The flop comes out king 10-4, 2 overcards. I check and he checks back. Turn card queen of spades. It's getting even worse for us now. 3 overcards to our pair. When I check again, he bets $100 with a gut shot and a pair. I make the call. The river card's an ace of hearts. I check again for a 3rd time. And now the button puts out a $350 bet. Looking at our hand, pocket nines, on a king 10-4 queen ace board, it seems like a very easy fold, but like I said, I have a ton of hours in history with this particular player, and I actually feel like he could be bluffing here. The board has run out where any jack will make a straight, and basically when he's betting $350 on this river card, he's saying he has a straight or nothing at all. I don't think he'd be betting this sizing with just a single pair ace hand or even a 2 pair hand. He would probably bet a little bit smaller or check back with fear that I may have a jack for a straight. But I'm trying to think now, what kind of jacks can he have raising pre-flop and then checking back this flop. I think he would bet on the flop with King Jack, Queen Jack, Jack 10, Ace Jack, and Jack 9. It's possible he could have a hand like Pocket Jacks, but if he had Pocket Jacks, I think he would check back the turn. So after thinking for a while, I do feel like he's bluffing, but I have to figure out what kind of hands could he be bluffing with. Well, he raised on the button, so he could have all sorts of suited connector hands, all the 5-6 suited, 7-8 suited, 8-9 suited, all those hands we do beat. If I was facing a $350 bet on this board with pocket nines by a lot of players here at the 5-10 game, I would just snap fold my hand, but against this particular guy who is definitely capable of bluffing, who I have over 2 years of history with, and especially when he bets big, it's usually a bluff as well. I really contemplate hero calling here with pocket nines, but it would just suck if he was value owning me here with 2 pair, or a set, or a straight. So eventually I fold, and he shows me 8-6 of hearts for a total airball bluff, and he gets this one through. Like I said, this guy is a madman. He loves to put in big bets. He wasn't scared at all. 8 high for a $350 bluff on the river. I wish I would have went with my gut that my pocket nines were good, but he gets this one through and he takes this one down. Next, the same guy who just bluffed me with 8 high opens it up to $75. Early position, I have ace jack of spades next to act. I could 3-bet or could call. This time, I decided to call 75. The cutoff call 75, button call 75. We're 4 ways to king 10-5. All clubs, we have a gut shot and 1 overcard. Early position player checks, cutoff checks, button checks, and we go to the 10 of spades on the turn, now giving me the nut straight, but there still is 3 clubs out there on the flop. Now the guy who bluffed me last hand leads into us for a $350 bet. Facing a very large bet compared to the size of the pot with the best straight possible, but any flush beats us, I do think we could raise here a lot of the time just because this 10 can improve him to sets and 2 pairs that we can get value from, but I still have 2 other players behind me who could possibly have been slow playing a flush, and the initial raiser could have maybe flopped a flush as well. We're $3,000 deep, so I decided to just call $350, cut off folds, button folds. We're heads up here to the river and get a nasty 3 of clubs. Now our straight is downgraded. Any club will make a flush, and now the action's back over on the initial raiser. If he puts out a big bet here, I'm going to be disgusted, and I probably am going to have to fold my straight. But he decides to check over to me. I want you guys to think what you would do in this situation. There's 4 clubs on the board and you have the best straight possible and your opponent checks over to you. Do you put out a small value bet? Do you put out a big bet trying to get him off a small club? Or do you check this one back? I do think against this particular player who doesn't like to fold, a small bet here would be good. I do think he'd be betting the river if he did have a club in his hand, but it would just suck to value bet here $400 and have him call with a small club and lose. So ultimately, I decide to check this one back. He shows Jack 9 of diamonds for a straight with no club in it. We show the ace jack for a better straight, and we take this one down. A pretty sick river. If there was no club here on the river, we probably would have won a way bigger pot. I recently just did an hour-long podcast talking about poker, YouTube, and life, and if you guys want to check this podcast out, go down in the description below. I'll put the link down there. You can click on that and watch the video of the full hour-long podcast. Back to the action here on the table. Our stack is up over $4,000 now. Within the first 3 hours of the day, we're in the game for a little over $3,000. Profiting around $800 so far. It's a straddle pot in this next hand and it folds to the button who only has $400 in front of him and he just calls $25, which I found pretty odd. If he had a strong hand, I would expect him to raise or fold. Given the fact that he just called, it feels like he's trying to trap, have someone raise so that he can go all in. So with Queen 10 of spades, I decide to just call pre-flop. We go 4 ways to a 10 high board. With top pair, I'm just going to lead out here. Make it $60. If someone raises me, I could probably fold, but the button, the short stack player, just calls. So now I don't think he's trapping. Maybe he has a hand like ace queen or ace jack, or possibly a smaller pocket pair. The small blind calls as well. The turn is the 8 of hearts. With 3 hearts on the board, the small blind checks. I slow down and check, and the button bets 175. When the small blind calls 175, I think I could get rid of my top pair here, but I don't want to fold just yet. I make the call, going to the river, which is the 3 of diamonds. Small blind checks, I check, the button checks behind, we could be good. Not this time. The button shows pocket jacks, so my read was right pre-flop that he was trying to trap one of us with a limp re-raise. He got a good flop, and he ends up taking down this pot. The rest of the session, I pick up some decent playable hands, but I just keep missing the flop. I can't seem to win a pot, and my winnings slowly fade away. I can't really hit anything, can't really get too much going. I then watch a hand where the king-high flush loses to a straight flush on the river. It was a sick pot. I end up calling it a night after around 4 hours of playing, profiting a little over $300. I end up racking up my chips, heading to the cage, and cashing out. All right, so I teased this in the title, the story of folding pocket aces pre-flop. This didn't happen recently. This actually happened way back in December of 2018, and I want to give you guys a little bit of context, a little bit of background on this. So in December of 2018, I was around 6 months into playing poker, and I was basically dead broke all of my early 20s. Throughout my early 20s, I just didn't have any money. I was a broke college student. When I graduated college, I worked a pretty shitty job that didn't really make much money either, and it was really hard for me to create or to have any kind of savings. I then moved down here to Miami in 2016, and the job I had wasn't paying me that much money, and it was really hard to save up any money after paying rent, gas, car, all that kind of stuff. So basically, all of my early 20s, I had no money to my name. Now, when I first started playing poker, I realized that money is super important if you want to play. It's really difficult to play poker for a living if you only have $400. You need to have a poker bankroll to be able to cushion the losses whenever you have losing days. So when I first started playing poker, I basically had zero money. I would make some money and then I would lose it. And I would make some money and I would lose it. And I had a really tough time creating a poker bankroll. And then finally, after about 6 months of grinding 1-2, I had saved up $2,500 worth of a poker bankroll. So $2,500 really isn't that much money for poker, but for me, it was a lot of money. Having $2,500 worth of cash for the first time in my life was pretty big for me. I was grinding 1-2 every single day. I was winning, things were going good. I created this poker bankroll, but I would always look over at the 2-5 game, and I'd always want to take shots and play that game. It looked fun, it looked exciting, the pots looked big, the table looked action, so me being stupid, a young guy with only $2,500 to his name, I decided to take a shot in December of 2018, only 6 months into playing poker. With $2,500 to my name, I sat down with the 2-5 game for $500 and started playing. Stupid, I shouldn't be doing this, but you know, sometimes you gotta take shots. So I played the game for around 3 hours and things did not go really my way. I was losing some pots, I'm sure I was playing bad. I kept topping onto my stack, I would lose some more pots, I would add on to my stack, I would lose some more pots, I would add on, and after about 3 hours of playing, I was in the game for $1,200 and I only had $400 in front of me. So I was down $800 my first time ever playing 2-5. I was getting completely crushed. I thought, look, let's just leave, let's just book the loss, but the game was really good. I wanted to try to keep playing. I knew if I hit some hands, I could win some pots, maybe I could get back to even. So I kept grinding that day. I kept grinding, I started winning some hands. I remember I flopped a set, I made a straight and a 3-bet pot, and I kept building up my stack. I got closer back to even and I kept playing. I was running good, I was making more money, and eventually after 6 hours of playing, I had a $1,500 stack. So at one point, I was down to a $400 stack, down $800, and then now, 6 hours into the session, I have a $1,500 stack, and I'm in the game for $1,200, so I'm up $300 on the day. So to put this in context, a $1,500 poker stack in front of me was huge for me. I was usually playing 1-2 no limit with around $200 or $300, and now I have $1,500 in front of me. I was about to call it a day, but there was 2 crazy guys at my table that were drinking all day. They were going wild. They were playing basically every single hand, and right before I was about to rack up, I had grabbed a couple racks in front of me. I was on the button, and both of the crazy guys at our table that were going wild the entire session decided they wanted to go all in blind against each other because they both wanted to leave. So they said, look, we're gonna go all in blind. Whoever wins gets the money and the other guy's gonna leave. They asked the dealer if they could be dealt in and they could go all in blind. And the dealer said, look, we can't do that here at the casino. We have to deal everybody else in. You guys can do whatever you want, but everybody else has to play the hand as well. So they told the table, they said, look, we're gonna go all in blind. You guys can do whatever you want. So the dealer deals out the cards, 9 people at the table. Under the gun is the first crazy guy, and he decides all in blind. He doesn't look at his cards for $1,500. Under the gun +1 looks at his cards and folds. Under the gun +2 is the other crazy guy. He doesn't look at his cards, and he goes all in blind for around $1,200. It was crazy. I was like, I've never seen this before. These guys are insane. They're drunk, they're wild, they're having a fun time. They're both all in blind. Now, other players fold over to the hijack player, who I didn't know at the time. Turns out he was a reg in these games, and he looks at his cards, and he goes all in for $1,000. So under the gun goes all in for $1,500. Under the gun +2, crazy guy goes all in blind for $1,200, and now the hijack player who looked at his cards goes all in. And the cutoff folds, the action's on me, on the button. I have $1,500 in my stack, the most money I have ever had in front of me at a poker table at one time, and I look down at pocket aces. This is absolutely the dream spot. You have the best hand possible. You have two crazy guys going all in blind and another guy going all in, and you have pocket aces. It's the best spot you can have in poker, right? Well, not really. If you're familiar with the probability and the statistics with pocket aces, you know if you're heads up with pocket aces, you're gonna win around 82% of the time. So around 80% of the time you're gonna win, and around 20% of the time you're gonna lose with pocket aces. Now, the more people that are all in with your pocket aces drastically decreases the probability of the chances that you're gonna win. So let's say I'm 3 ways with pocket aces, my chances of winning goes down to around 60% of the time. And if I'm 4 ways with pocket aces, it goes down to around 50-ish%. And I understood this. I knew that if I called this all in and I went 4 ways to the flop with pocket aces, I was gonna win roughly 50% of the time, and I was gonna lose roughly 50% of the time. So what, did I wanna risk it? Did I wanna risk $1,500 knowing that I'm gonna lose 50% of the time? I'm gonna lose basically half of my net worth 50% of the time. Now, of course, if you're playing poker, you can't be scared money. If you have pocket aces and you have a bunch of money in front of you, you have to be willing to put that money in with the best hand possible, knowing that you may win or you may lose. This is why poker bankroll is so important. You have to have buy-ins for the game so that if you do go all in with the best hand and you lose, you can continue to play. But I didn't have any more buy-ins. This was it. I had $1,500 in front of me, only $2,500 to my name. I was up $300 on the day. I didn't want to risk it, so I looked down at my hand, I looked around the table, I didn't say anything, and I folded pocket aces pre-flop to 3 all-ins. The small blind folded, the big blind folded, everybody showed their cards. The first crazy guy with a $1,500 stack, who had the same stack as me, showed 9 deuce offsuit. The second guy with a $1,200 stack showed Jack 8 of diamonds, and the third guy, the hijack player, had ace king. So 9 deuce offsuit, Jack 8 of diamonds, ace king offsuit. The dealer runs out the flop, the turn, and the river, and 9 deuce offsuit hit 2 pair on the river to win this entire pot. And if I would have went all in with pocket aces, I would have been cracked by 9 deuce offsuit. Now, of course, looking back, I can't really be results oriented. I should have always gone all in there with pocket aces, but I was scared money. I didn't have enough money to my name. I didn't want to risk it. I was only gonna win 50% of the time, so I made a super ridiculous fold. You should not do this, but it ended up saving me $1,500. It's crazy. I mean, I wonder what would have happened. I wonder if I would have went all in there with pocket aces and I would have lost a 9 deuce offsuit and lost $1,500. Maybe I would have just quit poker. Maybe I wouldn't be where I'm at right now, making poker videos, traveling around, playing poker for a living. You never know. It's crazy to think about. It's also crazy to think about how things have changed in around 4 years. 4 years ago, you know, I was basically broke, folding pocket aces pre-flop, and now I'm able to play poker for a living, make videos, travel around, playing 5-10, 10-25. So it's pretty wild how things change, and I want to thank you guys on YouTube again, because the YouTube has really helped me. It's helped me with obviously revenue, and it's helped me with opportunities, and it's just helped me with everything. So thank you guys again for watching my videos. You definitely helped me out in my ways of continuing to play poker and continuing to live the life that I want to live. And thank you guys again. Pretty wild story. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, hit that like button, comment down below, and subscribe to the channel. And until next time, I'll see ya.